system which works through wonderful computers, and the intelligent force has no mistakes in feeding the information to the computers. In the case of the human brain, there may be mistakes. When we feed a machine wrongly, we get the results in an awful way. Here, the machines are not fed with mistakes. The information is uncanny, having uncanny precision. No mistake at all. Because it is not only mechanical, but also intelligent. The force and intelligence put together make only one unit, and that gives the unfailing reaction. When there is something wrong inside, the intelligent force appoints agents to stop the traffic in the street, and then they begin to work with the road. And the result is, you don't feel like eating at all. The appetite is automatically stopped. That is what they do. They stop the traffic. They don't allow you to feel like eating. Otherwise, we will eat and we die. We do not properly understand the language of the devas who are working inside. We say there is no appetite, and we call it a disease. And we use medicines against the present condition, and the result is antibiotic treatment. And we are killed with medicines. So Dr. Hahnemann asks us not to take the action of the environment into consideration. Take the reaction of your constitution to any substance into consideration, and make a special study of the reactions towards various substances. As long as the substance is welcome into the constitution, there is no reaction. The moment the substance is something which is not desirable, immediately the intelligent force reaction kicks it out. For example, when something poisonous is eaten, you find immediately vomitings, vertigo, and foaming and frothing in the mouth, which are foolishly understood as the effects of the poison. They are not the effects of the poison, but they are the effects of the reaction of the vital force against the poison. It fights and fights against the poison. Power of the poison is more, we die. But when the power of the poison is less and the power of the intelligent force working is more, we survive and drive out the effects of the poison. Dr. Hahnemann asks us to take a notice of this strange phenomenon which we call reaction, and administer something desirable, there is no reaction. Administer something poisonous, immediately there is reaction. So substances are divided into two groups. One is the nutritive or welcome substances into the metabolism, which we call foods, the vitamins, the proteins, etc. And the second group is non-nutritive substances, which are not at all welcome by the intelligent force inside. These substances are called poisons, against which there will be a violent reaction from the constitution unfailingly. And when the quantity of poison is more than the capacity of your intelligent force working in you, the result is death by poisoning after a tough fight. But when the poison is negligible, the result is a success after a tough fight. But however, the constitution produces some wonderful reactions during the fight, by which you can understand that there is something undesirable taken in you. Right. Now Hahnemann advises us to study the reaction of the constitution to each of these poisons by eating each poison independently in a very, very, very minute dose, and examine the reaction of the human constitution against each poison. Of course, he never asked all of us to do it. Okay. He has himself done upon his constitution many poisons and made a wonderful catalogue and a list of the group of abnormalities produced by each poison. And he made us understand that these abnormalities belong to the intelligent force and not the poison. And against each poison, a particular group of abnormalities in behavior are produced. And as long as the poison is the same, the group of abnormalities produced is always the same. Conversely, when you study the group of abnormalities, you will understand that the poison is a particular substance, and then use this poison as medicine. When anyone is having the same group of abnormalities in him, without introducing that particular poison in his constitution. I repeat once again, when a person is having 100 abnormalities in his constitution, for example, anxiety, violence, irritability, nervousness, depression, apprehensiveness, perspiration, shivering, nervousness, lack of appetite, you make a note of all these things. Make a total and study the list of the poisons that are tried upon the human constitution. Select that particular poison which had produced the same group of abnormalities. Take the minimum dose of that poison and apply it to that particular patient who is showing that particular group of abnormalities without that poison. He was not poisoned by that medicine, but he is showing that group of abnormalities. Now apply that medicine to him and wonderfully he will be cured. His disease is not cured, but he will be cured. And the result is there will be no disease after the treatment. This is what is called the law of similars. That means substances that produce abnormalities in the constitution work as curatives in the persons who are suffering with the similar abnormalities of the same group. So, when the sufferings in the patient are similar to the sufferings produced by the medicine, that medicine cures that patient when we know the dosage and the method to use it. This is what is called the law of similars. On the face of it, it may appear stupid and idiotic. When we notice the difference between the living and non-living constitutions, we will understand why it is so. The reason is like this. The abnormalities produced in the constitution of the patient form the TV part of it, television. That is the exhibition part of it, not the cause. This has a cause in the TV transmitting station. The cause exists in the TV office. The results are manifest in the TV in your house. And you should find some influential, intelligent person who knows the TV fellows in Geneva. You should be able to send him to the office and suggest and influence the highest officers in the television to produce more educational and more cultural programs. So, don't tackle the TV and break it. If you administer medicines to cure diseases, you are throwing stones at the TV. But you are introducing a medicine in the TV office. That is the etheric body of the person, which Hahnemann calls the vital body. And then it produces another picture on the TV, which has exactly the similar program, similar to that of what the patient was having previously. Then what happens? Then the farmer will be absorbed into the second disease which you have produced. And then, since you have introduced very little poison traces, which is automatically eliminated from the constitution, the disease produced by the medicine disappears within no time. So, the second disease produced by you, which is producing similar group of symptoms in the patient, it makes the previous disease part of itself. And then the disease spot in the TV office, that is the disease cause in the vital body or etheric body, receives an alarm that there are enemies in the city. A new enemy has entered into the constitution, and the vital force is awakened against the enemy. The auto healing centers work with wonderful awareness, and they remove the disease produced by you through the medicine. Previously, they were not careful enough to drive out the disease already existing. Now, they are roused against any enemy in the city. They will remove the existing enemy also. Along with the new enemy you have introduced into the constitution. Of course, this is only in short what happens. There is much to explain. What is most interesting in this respect is, you should get a doubt and you should ask me, suppose if the enemy kills the patient, if the medicine introduced by us kills the patient, what happens? Because knowingly we are introducing a poison into the constitution. And what happens if the poison acts against the constitution also along with the disease? Now the answer is, you are not introducing the poison into the constitution, but you are introducing the photograph and the name and address of the enemy without the person, and make a proclamation in the paper that the enemy is in the city working against the people. Because what you do in homeopathy is, you take a poison in a powder called sugar of milk. 1 drop of medicine in this much of sugar of milk. Pulverize it many times. Take a little 1 grain of it and add it to 9 grains of distilled water, and then take 1 grain of the total mixture, add it to 9 grains of distilled water separately. Again take 1 gram of it, 1 grain of it. If you do it like that 3 times, it is called medicine of 3x or 3K. We use medicines in 3x, 6x, 12x, 30x. Or if you want a deeper action on the vital body, you add 1 ml of the medicine, milliliter of the medicine, not 9 but 99 milliliters of water. Then take 1 milliliter, again add to 99. Like that, if you repeat, if you do it 6 times, it is called 6C or 6th dilution of centesimal scale. This is decimal scale and this is called centesimal scale. If you do it 30 times, it is called 30C. If you do 200 times, it is called 200C. This is one scale. If you do it in a different way, so that the dilution is more than this in an arithmetical progression, then you get what is called 6CH instead of 6. CH means centesimal Hahnemannian scale. And also sometimes a medicine may be prepared diluted with 1 milliliter with 999 milliliters of water. This scale is called millisimal scale. So we have the decimal scale, the centesimal scale, the centesimal Hahnemannian scale, and the millisimal scale. And you can imagine the quantity of poison that is there in one dose. There is no medicine at all as quantity, because the material of the medicine is not there, the substance of the medicine is there. The physical plane of the medicine is not there, but the etheric counterpart of the medicine is there. If you introduce this into the constitution, what happens is there is a big advertisement and magazine work in the constitution that there is poison introduced into the body, but actually no poison at all. So we made a big propaganda that there is poison inside, and the intelligent force is made alert against the poison. It began to react against the already existing disease condition, and the result is the already existing disease disappears. This is in short what happens when a homeopathic medicine is properly administered in its proper dose. But what happens when improperly administered? Some people believe that no harm is there when homeopathy medicine is taken independent of a doctor, There are people who have homeopathic medicines in their kitchens. Daily they take the doses. There is pain once in 10 days and 15 days to the old lady in the house. She calls her Belfi and says, get one loose dose from the chest. And the daughter-in-law brings faithfully the dose and she eats. In the evening, there was pain in the knee also, and she asks her daughter to get one dose of casticum. She eats. With the left hand she eats casticum, with right hand she eats loose casticum. In the night she feels shins and she takes one dose of China. In the midnight she feels headache. She takes one dose of Bryonia. This is something awful. They believe that there is no harm in taking homeopathic medicines like this. Many people believe that the homeopathic dose when taken, it acts when it is correct, or when it is not correct, there is nothing harm. But remember that something awful occurs in the constitution. When repeated for a longer period of time, like this, the patient can never be cured of the after effects by any system of medicine existing on this earth. Because at every step, the disturbance you produce is on the etheric body, not the physical body. And any deformity that is produced permanently so that it cannot be cured. The constitution gets complicated day by day. And the person grows more nervous day by day and oversensitive to all the impressions in the surroundings. Goes into fierce and hysterical ways of feelings. She cannot be cured. That is the result of using homeopathic medicines frequently and unnecessarily. One of the basic instructions of homeopathy is use a dose only when there are abnormalities shown in the constitution, and then wait to observe, don't repeat the dose. When there is relief, don't repeat. Repeat only when there is a recurrence of the troubles. This is what we have to do in chronic, long-standing diseases treatment. We will give one dose today, wait for 2 months or 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, and in the meanwhile, we feed the patient with wonderful medicine discovered by Hahnemann called placebo. That means to please. That is bland sugar pills. Give 2 doses a day. Otherwise, the fellow purchases the bottles and eats for himself the medicines. The patient does not know when we give the true medicine. It is the case not only with a homeopathic patient, but also with an efficient homeopathic doctor when he is a patient. When he has not the presence of mind enough to cure himself, when he cannot stand the temptation of using many medicines upon his constitution, he should stop treating himself and submit himself to another brother homeopath. And the brother homeopath should not allow this fellow to know when the true dose is given and when placebo is given. That is the way in which a person is to be treated homeopathically. And there are many things we have to discuss in between. The origin of disease is also given wonderfully in homeopathy. Why diseases occur? No proper explanation is given till today in allopathy, except the wonderful theory of the virus and the microbe, which is as false as it is unscientific. Here are a few hints about the origin of disease. Any pain, let it be headache, stomachache, backache, arthros, lumbago, whatever it may be. Any type of burning, let it be burning in the stomach or burning in the eyes or nose or throat. Constipation and loose motion, which is called diarrhea, insomnia, drowsiness, always feeling like sleeping but not able to get sleep, burning, pain, loose motions, that is diarrhea. Diarrhea. You make a list of the thousands and thousands of diseases that are known by mankind. Also the big diseases called cancer, gangrene, paralysis, like this. You understand? They all are exhibited on the glass of the TV. You are not to throw stones on the glass of the TV. They are false diseases. That is either names used for diseases or the pains produced by a disease cause, some abnormal behavior produced as an effect by some cause which exists in the TV station. So you can list out these diseases in 100 pages or 1000 pages. Don't call them diseases. And then there are 3 real diseases that cause all these diseases to manifest. Any 1, 2, 3, 4 or 10 of these diseases are produced by 1 or 2 or 3 of these diseases. The one disease is called Swara. What is Swara? Force. A boy of 13 or 14 who is trained ideally by the father and mother, who is given positive type of education in a really psychological healthy way and allowed to live and work and study and play in ideal place, allowing amidst friends who are positive and desirable, and brought up for 14 or 15 years wonderfully positive and sweet. So a sweet fruit of psychological thinking. Suppose one night he gets at a novel of crime. He begins to read it. There is the description of a person stabbing another in the night in darkness. In all detail it is described. And the blood coming out, and the blood-stained hand of the criminal, and the fingerprints of the criminal accidentally detected on the wall, and the pain and the last agony of the person stabbed. The fellow completes the reading of the novel by 2 or 3 in the night, throws the novel away. What is the difference of the TV plate of his mind before he reads novel and after he reads the novel? You can very easily understand. That is what is called Swara by hand. The difference between the mind prior to reading the novel and after reading the novel is called Swara. It is the first cause is to the body. Taken for granted that the father and mother are born ideally healthy. Otherwise, you would inherit sorrow from either mother or father. It is very easy. But we are considering here only a case where the father and mother is not having any disease at all. Here is inauguration of the disease. And what happens to his mind then? He receives the total picture in all detail of the murder, as clearly and wonderfully as it is done on plastics. On plaster. Of Paris plaster. Because the mind is fresh and beautiful, like a photographic case which was not previously exposed. If the photograph is spoiled altogether of its power to exposure, no harm is there in exposing it for 11th time or 12th time. But when exposed for the first time to a picture that gives a rude shock, a picture which produces abnormality, monstrosity, strong jealousy, strong hatred, strong fear, any one of his strong beastly disturbances of baser emotions. That is the origin of Swara, and that starts a big chain action of events in the constitution that continue and continue and continue. When the mind is cleaned of that abnormal scene, when it is made quite normal once again, is it the same mind which was previously?
Yes.
Definitely not. Previously there was a mind which did not know this picture, so to say a virgin mind. Now we have a virgin spoiled and then made better. So this mind is made better. It is made pure. Previously it was pure. The difference is what Hahnemann calls sorrow. But yet, nature makes it pure once again if you allow it. Nature can make it as pure as it was previously. Only if you allow it. You know what happens? The insult produced by the horrible scene on the mind produces wonderful explosions in the etheric body which react against the shock and remove the shock from the TB plate of the mind. The vibrations are having many layers before they are eliminated from the constitution. If I produce one movement like this, it gives rise to many vibrations in the water, and it takes a long time for the vibrations to come to a null. Suppose in the meanwhile, I take the tumbler and try to eliminate the vibrations. What happens? I am producing more and more vibrations every time. This inevitably produces a disturbance on the outer tissues with itching and oozing pustules on the body, and it should be allowed to take its own course until it disappears. The existence of the disturbance on the skin shows that the disturbance produced on the mind is still having its effect on the constitution. The day of the total disappearance of the disturbance on the skin proves the day that made the boy free from the total effect of the insult you have committed on the mind. But generally what we do is we apply some ointment or medicine to the skin, because we have to send the boy to the school, and the teachers in the school or dormitory will object. So we want a medicine to cure the skin and kill the boy permanently. Then the vibrations will be reabsorbed by the mind. This time they live permanently with the patient. He is called the soric patient. What you have made a catalogue of so-called diseases, they will be coming and going, frequently visiting the fellow, because he is no more healthy. He feels weak for half an hour and then that's okay, normal. He feels heat and then normal after 5 minutes. He feels dull and drowsy and yawning for 5 minutes, normal once again. And there is no reason. This is the reason. So the TB plate is full of technicolor pictures, and Hahnemann has given us the method of how to cure this permanently. And the second is what is called psychosis. Not the psychosis, but this is psychosis. That means when a person contracts gonorrheal poison, there is a violent reaction in the constitution, an eruption in the genitals with pain and pus and blood, etc., which should be allowed to take its own course and which goes away. Because the pain is only atonement. But some medicine is used to cure the pain and the pus and the eruption. And the mental vibration of disease is reabsorbed into himself. And he becomes a lifelong patient of the second disease, psychosis. Similarly, when the same thing happens with syphilis, there will be an eruption when syphilitic poison is introduced into the body, which should be properly cured from within without curing it externally. When we cure it externally, the disease is absorbed into the vital body or etheric body and makes him a lifelong patient of the chronic syphilis. This produces aristocracy as the distortion of the mind. The person believes that he is more intelligent than everyone, and this distortion reflects in everyone he does and he talks. The second disease produces its keynote in the mind in the form of suspicion and jealousy. It colors every action he does and every word he speaks. If two people are smiling, he thinks that they are smiling about him. You can't help it. And the third one produces its keynote on the behavior of the person in the form of progressive imbecility, that is, lack of comprehension. He cannot understand a book now which he could understand 10 years ago. With these three keynotes, these three diseases exist as the background diseases, and the one or two or three produce all these diseases. If at all there is a cure, you should attempt at the person having these traits. There is no use of throwing medicines at the glass of the TB.